Hey, this is Kelly from the Dolly Rocks.
This is Joe Queer from the Infamous Queers.
Hey, Sleepy P. Martini.
Hey, this is Indica Flower.
And you are listening to
Our Brains Hurt.
Our Brains Hurt.
Our Brains Hurt.
Losers.
Well, they needed a jingle for their stupid little show, so they called up the Jasons and we said, fuck no. Then they called us again and they gave us $20 and we wrote them a song that said, your podcast sucks. Then they gave us more money and they asked us really nice and we finally gave in and we said, all right, I'll write you a song, but it's gonna be a clone of a Screeching Weasel song that we heard a while ago. So we wrote them a jingle and it sounded really rad. It was the best little jingle that their podcast ever had, but the file got corrupted and the email didn't work. Now they're stuck without a jingle singing our brains hurt. Our brains hurt, our brains hurt, our brains hurt. Our brains hurt, our brains hurt, our brains hurt. Our brains hurt, our brains hurt, our brains hurt. Our brains hurt, our brains hurt, our brains hurt. In a very non-copyright infringing sort of way.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Our Brains Hurt. This episode is brought to you by PunkBox. Head over to punkboxrocks.com. That's punkboxrocks.com for your monthly subscription service to punk rock merch. Everything you would find at a punk rock merch table at a punk show, sent to your house once a month. This could include stickers, button patches, koozies, vinyl, cassettes, CDs, everything you could think of once a month. It's an awesome subscription service, punkboxrocks.com. This show is also brought to you by Merch Slut. Head over to merchslut.com for awesome band t-shirts, punk rock band t-shirts. Merch Slut gets her shirts directly from the band or the label. These are not cheap knockoffs. She also has a wide array of awesome punk rock merch. Merchslut.com. Now, let's get to the show. Tonight, we're sending you all to therapy.
You need it.
We have a psychologist coming on the show who's into punk rock. I met him in my neighborhood walking my dogs like a week ago.
He's coming on the podcast.
Seems pretty cool, and I we've talked about mental health on this show a bunch of times. So
Many times, yeah. It's important.
Yeah.
I think that some people take it a little overboard.
Yeah.
I don't mean psychologists taking it overboard.
Right.
That's what they're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
I think that some people in this country currently are using it as an excuse.
Yeah.
Oh, my mental health. Like, you have to be a little bit tough in this world.
Right.
You can't just like everything that happens in your brain, you can't just like immediately like use as something to get out of everything you dislike.
Right. But on the other end, there's definitely this happens a lot with men. Like they just people who really need some mental health work.
Yeah, the
are scared or refuse to get it because of the stigma.
Yeah, the adverse is completely true to what I'm saying. There's tons of people. I don't need that bullshit hocus pocus.
Right.
Like, if you say that, you probably do.
Yeah.
Yeah. My mom was a big therapy person.
Okay.
She was in therapy her entire life, but not using it as a crutch. She used it as, she was never one of those people who blamed anything. As a matter of fact, you would never even know my mom was in therapy if you knew her.
Yeah.
I did because I was, her son, and she talked to me about it. But like,
yeah, I've had several therapists up until like February of this year. I just stopped having things to talk about. It's like, I think I'm good for a while. So
yeah, I'm in that boat, and not to be like, I don't need therapy. I'm happy. I'm good. Like, I don't feel like, I felt like if I was ever in need and having problems, like I probably would reach out. But
yeah, I feel like you're definitely open-minded enough to
100%.
Yeah.
If somebody came to me, and was like, Matt, I think you should go to a therapist and talk to somebody, I would.
After you punch them in the face, you would call it that.
Yeah, I wouldn't just dismiss it. I'd be like, really?
Totally.
Think that, what what's your opinion on that? I'm interested.
It's important, man. I mean, people go, you feel nauseous, physical pain, you go somewhere and it's, mental health is just as important, if not more important than that. So, but I'm going to let him in. He is in the room, and he's Italian too. His fellow paisan.
My goodness. I just am constantly surrounded by Italians on this podcast.
It's a great thing.
What's up, gentlemen?
What's going on? Yeah, I was just telling Matt, like we met walking my dogs. You commented on my Descendant shorts, and and it caught me off guard. It caught me off guard because I'm not used to when you're into punk rock and you're not at a punk show and somebody that you don't know kind of brings it up. It's kind of like you kind of like do a double take because it's not a very common thing. I told Matt I assumed that I was wearing my University of Kentucky shorts because my daughter goes there. But then when I looked down, I was like, oh shit, Milo, okay.
Yep. Yeah, there's not a whole lot of us out there, so you know we gotta wave our flags and make sure we coalesce.
That's right. Mm-hmm. Especially in the suburbs, just definitely walking around.
You're right. Yeah, there's a handful of punks in Crofton, and I feel like I know most of them.
Mm-hmm. That part of Maryland has a surprisingly rad punk rock scene.
Oh yeah.
Same kind of down here, halfway between DC and Richmond. Yeah, surprisingly, since the '90s, really.
Yeah. Well, and I think the DC area was just so much music coming out of here that influenced and kind of radiated out.
Yeah.
So, and I love being in Crofton because we're smack between Baltimore, DC, and Annapolis. I mean, Annapolis is such a gem with great art, music,
food. Yeah. Awesome stuff. Yeah.
White boy reggae.
White boy reggae. Yeah. Rules that's the bane of my existence. But for someone who used to set up shows in Annapolis, it's like,
right.
If you're not in a cover band or a white boy reggae band, it's like, ugh.
Music went in Annapolis because Annapolis is such a cool city. It's like it's my favorite city in Maryland.
Yeah, it is a cool city.
Well, I will put a plug in for Annapolis music. I was talking to your mutual friend Ron, Joe Martin, and he was saying Ron would book the best shows at Metropolitan. So
awesome.
Yeah, and some of the folks I collaborate with on Speak Your Truth, like really cultivated the underground hip hop scene. Like that. I feel like is just just blowing up, and there's so much talent in that department. But
and it's funny, like we've talked about this on the show a lot of times. Like when I was growing up and kind of getting into punk rock, it was really kind of skateboarding that kind of brought my group of friends together. And it was always when you're skating, it's punk rock or hip hop, right. And it was like. And everybody loved those two things, and it's funny how those two things kind of still kind of work together.
Big time,
yeah. And I guess it's kind of like the DIY thing, with both of those types of music. Maybe, yeah.
And it's like from both sides. It's like from the more rock, like hardcore side and stuff, like coming more into hip hop, and then on the hip hop side, coming more into like the rock side of things. So. Mm-hmm. From both arenas, like kind of meeting in the middle, doing some cool sort of fusion.
Yeah,
it's funny too. Out of that fusion, skateboarding and like Vans, the shoes, have become universal at this point.
Oh yeah.
Back in those days, they were both linked to punk rock.
Big time.
Not so much anymore.
Vans Warped Tour.
Yeah.
And just back in the day, it was like, well, if you wore Vans, you probably skated or were kind of into adjacent type of stuff. And like when Vans were becoming popular, so many people was like, oh wow, do you skate? Like, man, that's cool. And no, we just like these sneakers.
Yeah.
So then I'd have to like start looking at people's toes, like to see if they were like kind of worn in.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, this person actually,
see if
they might really skate. and with the band t-shirts now too, it's like, I give my daughter a hard time because she'll wear like her Nirvana shirt. I'm like, you got to name 3 songs, girl.
Yeah.
If you'll wear that shirt.
Yeah. My daughter's got like a Sublime t-shirt she wears, or a sweatshirt. It's like, whatever.
Right.
I can appreciate that mentality behind like, the Vans and looking at the toes, but I have to say that I'm proud of those things for getting to the places that they did. Because it is hard as somebody from the underground, a band from the underground, a clothing line from the underground, et cetera, to break that mainstream borderline, I guess we could call it, on your own without. I mean, I'm sure Vans and we all know a bunch of punk rock bands have had corporate ties, but you know, they still have. If I'm not mistaken, I don't think Vans has ever sold out. I think the same people who own Vans have always owned Vans.
I believe so.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool. I could be wrong on that, but I do believe that the same entity still at least you know shares a giant stake in the ownership of Vans.
And they have lots of money now.
Yeah. I just bought a pair a couple weeks ago.
I was looking for old Airwalks. I used to love those old Airwalks.
Yes. They're hard to find, and like the ones that they have, like the Airwalk ones, or you can find them on eBay for like hundreds of dollars.
Yeah.
So like, I guess maybe at some point they might reissue them, and people will be all over them. But
I love those shoes, man.
Trust me, I did my digging. Can't find them.
Those in you guys remember Vision Streetwears?
Oh hell yeah. That was a little before my time, but like, you know, they I like that look, and
totally,
especially like that kind of clunky high top.
They made a comeback a while back. I actually bought a pair in like, I think it was like 2011 or 2012.
Oh really?
Yeah, rocked a pair of black high tops. Yeah.
Oh yeah, nice. Tyler, where are you from originally?
I grew up in the Pittsburgh area.
Okay.
So
great city. Hate all the sports teams, but love the city.
We'll agree to disagree on that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a DC fan, so
yeah. And you know, I'm okay with the Ravens. Are kind of like stepbrothers to the Steelers, but the Caps, like, just, you know, no love there.
Yeah. So you're a big hockey guy then?
No, I wouldn't say a big hockey guy, but you know, enough that like the vitriol down here against the Pens from Caps fans or fair weather fans, it's like, come on.
Hey, it's a great rivalry.
Yeah, definitely a great rivalry.
Yeah, it is. It's fun. I had season tickets for like 5 years.
Oh, nice.
And all the Caps Pens games were always such a blast.
Yep.
When did you make your way to Crofton, to Maryland?
Around 2004, we moved to like the Towson area, and then 2006 we moved to Crofton, and been here since.
Cool. When did you originally get into punk rock? Like, how old were you when you kind of got into that awesome scene?
Yeah. You know, as a kid, I think it was just like kind of a frenetic, hyper, like anxious kid. I guess I'm still like that as an adult, but I think like fast music, like hard music, just kind of did something to me. So even like before punk, like the songs that were a little bit faster, really like spoke to me and like did something crazy to my brain. So
hell yeah.
Like I remember getting the Queen like anthology because you know, from Wayne's World and like Bohemian Rhapsody, but Stone Cold Crazy was like my song that was like on repeat on the tape player. So then you know, we learned about like the Ramones from DVE, like the classic rock station that would play that, but I don't think I connected the whole punk thing until, you know, like probably 13, 14, like when I was getting into skateboarding and the exposure that way, like through skateboard, snowboard videos, you know, magazines, like with the ads and like little profiles on bands. You know, because I lived in the suburbs, like about an hour south of the city, and small town, you know, blue collar town, not a whole lot of punk rock going on there. So definitely not easy to find like a handful of people that were into the same stuff. But so, you know, the people that were into it, you know, definitely, you know, there was this close connection. And probably in college was when, you know, living in University of Pittsburgh, right down the street from Club Lager, which was an amazing venue, you know, $5-10 shows. And, you know, this was 2000, and like just like every week there was great punk shows coming through there. You know, and that was when there was Napster as well. So like all this punk stuff that was like familiar with, you can only maybe get like one song from, you know, the compilation. Like now being able to go and like get all the music, like it was it was a great time for my punk explosion.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
because I guess you guys are, I think, a little bit older than me, so
yeah,
but you seem like
I'm
you had
probably the
similar
oldest.
trajectories with skateboarding and
Yeah.
whatnot. Yeah,
I'll be 46 in December.
sweet.
Yeah,
Matt has a
I'm
cat.
2
on
years
shoulder.
behind him. I'm 44. So yeah,
Gotcha.
we got this new kitten. He's
Man,
very
what a
rambunctious.
beautiful cat.
Yeah, we got a free Siamese cat. So what can you take?
like the Blink 182 cover.
That's right. It is. It's just like
this is
great
this
album
is,
too.
This is Strife.
That's awesome.
He now comes and joins me while we do the podcast.
Like the LA hardcore band Strife. Like
yeah,
nice.
But spelled with a Y and not an I. Because I think I said this on an episode. What his government name is Sir Strifinius Wigglebottom.
Strife
for short.
So you went to Pitt.
Mm-hmm.
Did you go there for both undergrad and grad school, or?
Nope, just grad school. I don't know if I was as strong of a student to be able to get into the grad school. I mean, it's like a internationally known psychology program, so that wasn't happening. But yeah, I got into grad school, master's program at Towson. My wife did as well, so that's what brought us down this way.
Cool. My brother went to Towson. It's I hung out there a couple times. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's a beautiful campus.
Yeah, it is. What made you go the mental health route?
I think I've just always been like the person that's interested in understanding why we do the things we do as humans, and it came from people, my family that were in the helping profession or like really put a premium on service to other people. So that was like a value that was big for me. And my dad is a physician, and he tried to push me in the medicine route, but that maybe wasn't speaking to me as much as psychology. And took those like the classes when I was in high school, and had those early training experiences in mental health, and was hooked. I knew that it was something that I wanted to do, and I was lucky in that regard, because it's, some people don't find their niche and like their passion that easy.
Ever sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not to get dark, but suicide in the punks community is a thing. We had on somebody, I think it's 2 years ago now, maybe a year and a half ago, and he was in a band and they were getting ready to go on tour, and I think like a night or two after we talked to him, their singer committed suicide.
Wow.
It was very soon after. I don't know if it was a night or two, but dude was supposed to be on that night, but he was I think he was playing an acoustic show somewhere, and he was gonna like dip out for an hour and talk with us, and he couldn't get a good internet connection or whatever, so we just talked to their bassist, and it was like very, very soon after that they
I think
just
within a
finished.
week.
They just finished like their little tour, and it was a real sad thing.
And it's like we talked to a lot of people on here, and it's like everybody knows. Unfortunately, it seems like so many people know somebody who either killed themselves or so that one hit me hard, even though we never talked to him. I never met him, talked to him, but for some reason that episode, not episode, but like just getting that news was like super depressing. And so we did an episode on it. And yeah, I think, and a lot of people kind of really like that episode. I think mental health is tough to talk about, especially for guys, for whatever reason. A lot of guys are too proud maybe to think that they need it or would to seek help. But yeah, I don't know where I'm going with all this, but I'm just kind of, my mind is jumbled.
I think that's great that you guys devoted an episode to talk about that, because I mean, it could easily just been something you want to not think about or talk about. I'm sure that was hard. to talk about.
Yeah.
But way to shed some light on it. So way to go. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
And we've dove into the topic of all this many times. As a matter of fact, our my buddy Oz, who comes on here, is a repeat guest. We generally don't talk about mental health with him. We talk about a bunch of other weird shit, but
I saw there was like a episode with him talking about cults and
I love talking about cults. But he is, and I'm probably gonna screw this up, and I'll get a text from him on Monday after he listens to the episode and be like, "You totally butchered that." But I believe he has gone. He's already got his master's in psychology. I believe he's going for a doctorate right now. But yeah, that was his same for him as his calling.
Awesome.
Yeah,
but
that's cool.
Him and I, we met. That was like the subject of what we talked about a whole lot.
Yeah.
This cat, people can't see it. He thinks he's a parrot.
That is so cool.
He jumps up my shoulders all the time. Right around the house on my shoulders is crazy.
No, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, but cool to that you guys are, I guess, open enough with each other to get into that heavier stuff. Yeah, because it's not always easy.
Yeah,
with guys to do that, even with people that you're tight with.
And some guys out there just don't have the avenues for it, I believe. I shouldn't say guys. There's a lot of just people in the world who don't have the avenues, who could use it, who would want it, but the people they surround themselves with look at them. Yeah. They get like groupthinked into not seeking help because, fear of ridicule or whatever.
And that's a big part of why we do what we do with Speak Your Truth, is to try to stop that stigma and to really showcase people that are talented, admirable artists that are they're open about their mental health issues, and just to kind of normalize it.
Yeah, talk about that, because it's a yearly thing you put on, and you've done this was your 7th one this year.
Yeah,
and it's in Annapolis every year. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yeah,
yep.
And it's a basically you have like comedians and you have artists and musicians, and it's a really cool. Just go ahead and talk about it, and you talk about it. It's your thing.
So. Yeah, no, I mean, what you're saying was kind of exactly it. We started back in 2017. My friend David and I, we were volunteering on NAMI, National Alliance on Mental Illness, on their board of directors, and they tasked us with doing a fundraiser. And they were like, "Hey, why don't you do a 5K?" That that's kind of all the rage, people like that. And we kind of wanted to do something that was a little bit more connected with the message, and like something that was unique. And thought it would be, both separately came up with this idea about doing an art and mental health thing. Just figuring that would be a more kind of engaging way to talk about mental health. And at first people kind of balked at the idea and just weren't really sure how it was going to play out, but it kind of worked, and people really bought into it, and it's just grown year after year. So
awesome. I see you had Ryan Sickler as a speaker. I listen. I'm in love with his podcast. I think he's hilarious.
Yeah, Honeydew is amazing.
Matt, do you know that podcast, The Honeydew, with Ryan Sickler?
I think I've heard the name before. Yeah, I've never listened, but maybe I should give it a listen.
Yeah, it's a really fun. He's really good. But I was like, holy shit, Ryan Sickler! Like that was like, how did you end up getting him as a speaker?
Yeah, I was a fan of his from the Crab Feast podcast. He's a Maryland guy, and it's just one of these like storyteller podcasts. And I saw he was doing this Honeydew one, and I was like, holy shit, this is like exactly the type of thing that we're aligned with for Speak Your Truth. So just on a whim, impulsively, like I do with everybody, like just give it a shot, like reach out. What's the worst they're gonna do? Say no.
Right.
And he was like actually really sweet about it. He's like, I live in Maryland, I grew up in Maryland. I come back, like maybe I can just come back, do a show. Like if he was gonna do it for like a really low fee, essentially. And then COVID hit. So that canceled all the like in-person stuff, but he still did like a really nicely produced video for it, and I was just eternally grateful.
That's cool. It's cool to know that he's really cool in real life too. So
right.
Yeah, Matt, his podcast. So basically, what he has other comedians on, and they basically like he calls it highlighting the lowlights. So they discuss like a really traumatic or like bad experience in their life. It's interesting, and they laugh about it. It's he does a really good job, and he's big on mental health too. Like he's definitely an advocate. That was really cool that you were able to grab him. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, I was thrilled.
Yeah, I haven't listened to the Crab Feast podcast yet. But I should probably go back.
Yeah, it was like him and Jay Larson.
Oh, it was Jay Larson too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, those two were good together.
That's awesome.
Just great, talented storytellers, and just living in Baltimore most of your life, it's just going to be great source material for that.
Yeah, totally.
The punk community has just been extremely helpful with getting this thing off the ground and like being part of it year after year. Like I said, Joe Martin, kind of helped get the thing going as far as like helping us find a venue and like helping us promote it, put me in touch with a lot of different artists. Anthony Lavorgna, who's a local artist, big into punk. He was like one of the first artists that did a lot with us. Right now we have a lot of collaboration with Punksgiving, who's in Richmond based. They do a lot of just different community events to help people in all sorts of ways.
Punksgiving?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
So now I think they're under the wing of Punk Rock Saves Lives.
Okay, I was going to ask you if you know those guys, those people.
Yeah. So they were going to participate one year, and then like something happened, and like it just kind of fell through. But the Jared from Punksgiving has come up the last couple of years. So
cool. Actually, as a matter of fact, a friend of mine had put me in touch with one of the Punk Saves Lives people, because they were going to come on and do an episode. I think that has gotten put on hold for a little bit. Because that was like, I can't remember what her name was, but I talked to her like, it was like 1 or 2 days before the whole anti-flag thing went down.
Oh yeah.
And apparently Justin has or had something to do with Punk Saves Lives.
Yeah. They did a lot of like collaboration stuff.
Yeah, so I'm not no hard feelings on not being hit back after we had a short conversation about that. I'm sure there was some work involved there, and still probably is. So,
right.
But I'm sure she'll reach back out, because it's a really good mutual friend that had reached out to me actually. And asked if,
hit up Jared from Punksgiving. He's always hustling out there.
Yeah.
Stuff.
Man, Joe Martin's awesome. Joe Martin. He's my hookup for like shows in Annapolis. And we used to do shows at the Metropolitan.
Yeah. That's where we had Speak Your Truth the first 3 years.
Oh, really? Okay, cool. Yeah. So Matt, you guys played. We had your band play. Savage Remains played at Metropolitan.
Yes, that's right. We played with you guys actually.
Yep.
Nice.
That was a good show.
Yeah. So now they had that upstairs area, but now they made it more restaurant seating. So I think they don't. I don't know if they have shows at all anymore, or if they do, it's only like Friday and Saturdays.
Right.
Yeah.
That sucks if they don't, because that was a cool venue.
That was the only place in Annapolis that would have punk rock.
Yeah. So we've been doing Speak Your Truth the last couple of years at the Art Farm, which is like right next to Third Eye Comics in the Design District.
Okay.
And Joe, he actually booked Ian MacKay.
That's right. He was there.
His outfit. Yeah. It was 2018, 2019 maybe.
Yeah, I remember that. Okay.
Yeah. So the venue,
did you go to that?
There is. Yeah, I did. It was okay. It was great.
Cool.
Yeah. I got to meet Ian afterwards, and we're not worthy. I had my moment. Yeah. And he was really sweet too, and I just told him like what inspiration he is like to the work I do in terms of that whole like Revolution Summer movement and just the like continued positivity from DC Punk, about helping other people and putting out good messages.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I met him, it was eons ago, but he is he's a very nice dude.
Yeah.
I think he gets a bad rap sometimes from certain people who don't really understand things, but he's an extremely nice human being.
Yeah.
I never met him.
It's all about approach.
Right.
Yeah.
If you fanboy at somebody, sometimes people don't necessarily
being the Punisher, so to speak.
Yeah, people don't necessarily act themselves when you fanboy at them because it's a little it can be abrasive,
Right.
Yeah.
Having somebody come up to you and be like, "Oh my god, I don't know." Yeah,
Totally.
It's like, okay, we could have a conversation like normal humans if you want to.
Right.
Sometimes it takes a lot of strength to not fanboy.
Oh yeah.
We've had some guests on the show where I just had to like really try hard to play it cool. Like Fat Mike, Bill Stevenson, like like just try to act like it's no big deal, but I'm like shaking inside.
It's you got to find ways to get the wheels rolling. Once the wheels are rolling, and everything's cool.
Right. Yeah. What are some of your first few kind of punk rock bands you fell in love with? Like, what were your entry drugs into punk rock?
The entry ones, probably Offspring. Them like having the music videos and just picking up Smash and that being kind of a life changer for me. Green Day, Green Day, like that was another first intro to punk, and like just couldn't believe what I was hearing and like just how like just the content of it with the lyrics, but also like just the I don't know the emotion, the snottiness, like it was but then all those like the next probably big leap was like somebody gave me the Punkorama 1 compilation.
Oh yeah, those are awesome.
Yeah. It's like in the 90s it was like that was how you learned about punk, was like those compilations or like skate and snowboard videos.
Yeah, exactly. And the Fat Record is Fat Music for Fat People, and
so
Punkorama,
good.
like those two. Yeah, it's like every year they came out with a new one, and it was like, if you were a band on one of those comps, that's back then that's how you got heard, and that was they're still classic. All of them.
I remember going to see NoFX was in it was like February of '96. I think they were on the Heavy Petting Zoo tour, and they had copies of Fat Music for Fat People at that show, and they were selling them for like I think they were even just giving them away for free.
Yeah,
actually, really? But that comp didn't come out till the next year.
The first one is it the first one?
Wow,
Fat Music for Fat People.
Oh yeah.
No, it was the second one.
Okay,
or Survival of the Fattest. I'm sorry,
Survival of the Fattest. Yeah.
Excuse
me. Is that
me.
the one with the dude in the Cadillac?
No, it's the one with the.
I think it's like the Survival of the Fattest is like the evolution.
That's right.
It's like the Da Vinci picture or whatever. But so like I was with like there was 5 of us, and we all got it and brought it back home and had it, and nobody could find it anywhere because it didn't come out till '97. So we had it like a year earlier than it actually came out, and it was I can't tell you how many like cassette tapes I made for people that was like, oh my god, can you make me a cassette of that CD? Yeah, totally.
That's awesome.
But it got passed all around like Virginia.
Like an apostle, cool. Just spreading the gospel.
Spreading the gospel.
Yeah.
So good.
I mean, we'd like all get together to skate after school and just like put it in somebody's car and turn the volume all up and leave the car running while we were skating outside.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, it's funny like when you say like the how the music and the lyrics kind of got to you, like that was for me. I was and I think there's like when it comes to mental health and punk rock, I don't know if there's like a higher mental health problem in the punk rock community, if we just are more aware of it because we're also in it. But it seems to me like my thing is like if you're searching, you kind of have to find punk rock, and if you're searching for punk rock, or something more,
right,
then you're kind of dissatisfied with normal life.
Right.
Kind of. You know what I mean? Like there's something that makes
Yeah.
you kind of want to go out there and need something more.
Mhm.
So I'm wondering if that kind of is why some people are more vulnerable to mental health disorders. I don't know. I'm not trained in this area, but you know, my childhood was weird. I grew up in Crofton too. I grew up on Gerald
cool.
Place, which is like,
Yeah.
it's pretty much
Right up
just
the
this,
road.
yeah. So and it was, so many people had so like way worse childhoods than I did, but for me it was kind of a depressing childhood. And I remember finding the Dead Milkmen and just listening to them and just being like, this is the craziest shit I've ever heard. Like, what is this guy singing about? This is hilarious.
Which
about a
which
bitchin'
one?
Camaro.
It was Big Lizard in My Backyard, and actually Beelzebubba was the first tape my friend Tom gave me. I was just like, what is this? This is the craziest. This is wacky. Like, this is, I didn't know, like, you could sing about this stuff and just like put out an album that's crazy. And then I went from that, oddly enough, to Gorilla Biscuits, which is like New York hardcore, which.
Yeah, it's like I had no exposure to any of that until like way later, you know.
Yeah, I don't remember how I found Gorilla Biscuits, but I remember listening to that music and how fast and heavy it was. And I was just like, holy shit. I was like, this is it. It was just like, this is it. And the lyrics, like, you know, the positive stuff, like get up and try again, like,
yeah,
stop watching so much TV, you know, just all these messages that were just like, I was like, this is it. And from then on, I was like, these are my people. And then I started going to shows, and, you know, for the first time I felt like welcome around like a group of people.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I found it. I found my family, you know? Yeah.
For whatever reason, Ron, back in the 90s, the mentality of like how punk rock just worked for you was like coming from a guy who grew up listening to George Carlin, but that might tell you something. But
the Prophet, George.
It always just seemed like watching television, listening to stuff on the radio was like something just didn't feel right about it.
Mm-hmm,
it was like it always kind of was like this. Is this what people actually believe or what people are actually into? Like, there's got to be something more than this. And then you heard punk rock for the first time, and like their lyrics were things that you could, and you're like, holy shit, there's other people out there. I'm not the only one. Holy oh shit, wow, I'm really not the other one. There's this whole fucking movement. I don't know. There was just this other ideology to the world that was very, very separate from what we were all being told we had to do and had to be.
Right.
Yeah. It was
and I think that's like an interesting conversation around like, well, is it the like are certain people that have like more difficulties drawn to it? Is it just that, you know, it's talked about more? I mean, it's probably a combination of the two. And I mean, but I would venture to say that punk, you know, compared to other genres, or, you know, maybe metal as well, like, well, there is this like open talk about, you know, the darker side of humanity and like about like more personal stuff that you don't have at the same level with other genres. And, you know, to shout out one of the collaborators for Speak Your Truth, this cartoonist named Reed Chancellor, he did a book called Hardcore Anxiety. And Ron, I can run down a copy.
Cool.
And when I'm walking down the dog next time. but it's cool. It's like, it's about his like own dealing with mental health and how punk, you know, and hardcore like kind of interface with that. But then also about like just, you know, how mental health has been represented in punk throughout the years. And it's a great book that, you know, so your audience, you guys should check it out, because I feel
awesome,
like
for sure.
Nice thesis about that. Because I mean, one of the things he says is like, for whatever reason, like that you're drawn to it, like when you're there and it just feels right. There's it's this sort of indescribable experience.
it's super therapeutic.
Yeah,
it's completely therapeutic because like you get to listen to people talk about these things that, you know, growing up in I was born in 79, so growing up throughout the 80s, and I know it was way worse in the like 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s.
Right.
But there, you know, and I'm sure both of you guys growing up, at least parents or relatives or teachers or something, there was something that you guys did that you wanted like to talk about, and people just said, hey, no, we don't talk about that.
Yeah.
You know, like there's all these social norms that's just the way things are.
Right.
That's the stuff you're talking about. You need to keep that inside. We don't do that. We don't talk about that. And that was always just so confusing to me. It's like, you know, because I was like, everybody, I'm trying to think of a good example of something here off the top of my head, but like it's just things like everybody does them. Everybody thinks about it, but nobody fucking openly talks about it. I guess like sex is probably a big one back then. Now it's way more open, but like back then, you know, it was something you just could not talk about. You tried to like
and sexuality,
talk about things with people. They just shut down completely and told you you were crazy. Yeah.
Well,
but punk rock always went there, you know, like
always. Yep.
And it was it's like for whatever you're feeling, whatever might be, you know, just hurting you, there's a punk song about it. There's somebody who is, you know, it doesn't matter what it is. It's just like it's such an awesome.
I remember getting sent to the principal's office in 10th grade with my friend Chris because we were singing Liza and Louise out loud, trading lines off. While we were supposed to be studying in class.
She said she won't get burned again.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. Man. Yeah, so definitely check out Hardcore Anxiety. I think that's
I will. That sounds awesome.
I think I'll be buying a copy of that book. Actually, that sounds awesome.
And I mean, like this topic about, you know, mental illness, like, you know, being addressed with punk. Like I think about like the song "Trust Your Mechanic" by Dead Kennedys. I mean, like I don't know if you know that song, but oh my god, it's like it's such a profound song about mental health and about, you know, being over medicated and you know, about suicide in the Bay Area. Like
Have you ever read the books? The two books that came out by this dude named Johan Hari, called Lost Connections and or not. The first one's called Chasing the Scream, I believe, and the second one's called Lost Connections. Have you ever heard or read those two books?
How do you spell his last name?
I believe it's Hari. It might be Harri.
Yeah, but yeah, I guess I'll also check it out.
The first one, Chasing the Scream, is more about like because it was written a few years back.
Yep.
Yeah, it's about like the opioid epidemic and like addiction.
Okay.
But then he went from that book into mental health for his second one, and like the book's all about alternatives to like fixing your mental health. And he went all over the world studying how different, like he went into like small villages and places like in Africa and stuff, and studied how some of these places handle people that have mental breakdowns.
Yeah.
Versus like, you know, large city societies like the United States and a lot of Europe and stuff like that. It's really, really interesting.
I'll have to check that out. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we obviously got exposure to that, you know, with with our training, but yeah, I mean, this sounds like it's a little bit more of an updated, maybe even more broad.
Yeah. It focuses mainly on like depression, really. Lost Connections, and how different small cultures and stuff, or just different cultures all over the world, like help people with their depression in different ways versus just like giving people pills.
Yeah. And you know, part of what we do with Speak Your Truth is, you know, we try to emphasize like, you know, everybody's recovery is going to look different. Everybody's treatment's going to look different. That, you know, for some people it's therapy and medication, like something traditional. For other people, you know, it's riding mountain bikes, or it's doing poetry or visual art, or
that actually,
music.
I mean, you're nailing like basically what this book is about.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's and yeah, everybody's different. Everybody needs and you know what? That's another thing about punk rock, I think, that was alluring, is like it wasn't this inside the box thing.
Yeah.
That you were forced, you got to go to school and you got to do this a certain way and you got to do this a certain way. No, it's like you have things that you want to do a certain way and you're allowed to do it that way, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's like when you try to define what's the tenets of punk. I think that's one of the main ones. Sort of this freedom and this like lack of confines.
Yeah,
because it encompasses so much. So many different types of sounds and approaches to it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
almost like an artistic freedom movement, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's so funny. Like, it's become kind of cliche to say punk rock saves lives, but
it does.
It does. And it's not, it doesn't matter. Like, even like people who go to raves, stuff, it's anybody who kind of like goes outside of and finds some kind of alternative thing that helps them.
Right.
Just that those things exist are awesome. And I had it when I
not freak out, helps them make other people comfortable around them.
And when we had Fat Mike on, like I felt bad doing it, but at the end I had to thank him for like, I was like, look, man, I was like, when I was growing up, whenever I was depressed, I would turn to NoFX or some kind of Fat Records band, and it would just bring me to this awesome spot. And I was hoping he wouldn't take, I don't know, because I know he doesn't like to be complimented that much, but he took it really well, and he was cool with it. But I had to think, because I didn't know if I was ever going to talk to him again. But it's so important to me. It was so important to me growing up, and I'm so grateful for it. Yeah.
Same here. And I mean, going to a show and just like acting like an animal, and it's I mean, you feel so good afterwards. And I don't know, I mean, I would have to think that it's something primitive and cross-cultural, like like it was in Canada or in Alaska, like a tribal ceremony. I was like, this in a lot of ways feels like that sort of rhythm and then like the type of movement. I was like, this feels in a lot of ways like being at a punk show or hardcore show or metal show.
Yeah, I went to on April. It was in April in Baltimore. Gorilla Biscuits played, and I went with my friend Dylan. Yeah, my friend Dylan lives on the Parkway too. He lives like probably about a half mile from you.
Okay.
We went to high school together. He was actually our class valedictorian too, but he's huge into punk rock. We went to the Gorilla Biscuit show, and he was like, "We have to go up front against this." I was like, "I'm 45 years old. I'm not fucking going up front against." But he talked me into it, and I was right up against the stage, man. And I was scared because it's rough. There was no barrier. It was just like us and the Gorilla Biscuits. But once the music hit,
be an active stage dive.
Yeah.
Scene,
oh yeah. There was people flying. Well, luckily they were flying over my head, and they were all hitting him. They all kept landing on him. Like, but yeah, it was just like being up there. It was the first time I've ever seen them live, and I was just singing along with him, and Siv, the singer, would just come up, and there were several times where he like would kneel down, put his arm around me, and we'd both sing into the microphone. And there's nothing like that. There's just you can't. It's hard to explain to people who aren't into punk rock how accessible it is,
right?
And how you could really participate at a high level,
right?
Where you can't do that with other genres.
But I spent $2,500 on a Taylor Swift show and got to sit in row 18,461.
Right. I mean, just being able to have that connection with the artists that mean a lot to you. I mean, that's that's great, and I like that with all different sorts of underground art. Just being able to
totally
kind of meet your idols.
Yeah, totally. And with this
or the people
podcast,
who influenced you in a big way.
yeah, and it's with this podcast, like I like how you emailed Ryan Sickler. It's just like I'm like, fuck it, I'll just email this guy and see. And we've talked to, Ben Weasel, Joe Queer, Fat Mike, Bill Stevenson, like all these people that like 18-year-old me would be like going crazy. Like it is, and they're like, yeah, we'll do it. It's just, it's awesome. It's it's something that's just such a huge, it's me, it's just something that I'm so grateful for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that there's just not a whole lot of other folks out there that are kind of that this music speaks to in the same way. It can feel a little bit isolating. So like when you do go to a show and it's like, oh, there's this room is filled with people that are on my wavelength.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally, yeah.
This famous psychologist Kohut, talks about how we all have these different needs to sort of like kind of make us like fully formed individuals, and like give us like a good self-concept. And like the one that he talks about a lot is this twinship need, and this sort of having this deep connection with other people, with your fellow man. And I think the punk community, like providing that so much for so many people, I think is probably extremely helpful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely was for me. Yeah.
Too, like I think, Ron, to your thought on all that, like I think a lot of people within the punk rock community too they're willing to do things for people when they see people who aren't just in it for like a get rich quick scheme. Like making money is all well and good at what you do, and if you work really hard at something, you deserve to be compensated in some fashion for it. Because
you hear that, potential sponsors.
but the PunkBox does seem good.
Yeah.
I think I'm sold on
cool
the PunkBox.
thing.
Yeah. And if you show like that DIY work ethic where you're not just trying to get to a certain point to get this giant payout where you're like, oh, I made it, I don't have to do shit anymore. It's like, no, you're doing things because this is what you love doing, and then everything else comes along with it. Like I think a lot of people in the punk rock scene who have been in it for a while and been successful see other people doing it that way,
right,
and can appreciate that. I mean, I certainly know I can. I've been doing this, not the podcast, but just in the punk rock scene for a long time, playing music. So I know I can appreciate when I see younger people who aren't just chasing the dollar, and they're trying to put in the work and put in the time to make themselves successful. Things come, instead of just trying to get over on people for money. That's just, I hate it. I hate exploitation. I fucking hate it.
Right there with you.
Yeah.
Well, and I think with punk too, like that there's the musicians like see the value in like, well, I don't have to have a big crowd, but if I can influence somebody, if I can make them be further into the scene, support us, or like support the cause that I'm about, then then it was a win more than how much money we're raking in. And I think that's like kind of the ethos I've kept in mind for Speaker Truth, because it's not big, it's not anything we're even really making money on. I've lost money on it a lot of years, but the people who attend, like say that they've gotten a lot out of it, and had influenced them to maybe do like some other things with mental health awareness. So it kind of like I had that image of like the Manchester Sex Pistol show, the infamous show where all these other people were kind of went on. There was 40 people there, but half of them went on to do really cool stuff, like the Buzzcocks and Morrissey and Joy Division and stuff like that. So I mean that the punk ethos definitely just still looms large for me.
One of the coolest quotes ever is from Bill Stevenson. It was in the Descendants. I think it was their documentary filmage, but he was like he's like, no one, where is it written that you have to have a huge following? Like if you have 50 fans that you speak to, you're successful. You know what I mean? Like that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So totally.
Chasing fame and chasing money is not like in any faucet, whether it's punk rock or anything else in life. It's a dangerous outlook for yourself. And if we're talking about mental health, like it's not good for your mental health.
No.
Chase doing something.
Yeah.
You're doing something with your life. Like, well, just to do things. Like, what is the goal? To become rich and become a king and just sit on your fat ass all day and do nothing? Right. Like, I mean, I know like Fat Mike has thrown that out in a bunch of his stuff talking about punk rock, but I still find that as kind of a joke.
Yeah.
It's probably not completely a joke, but like, you know, just find something you love and do it.
Yeah.
You know, that really helps with your mental health.
Oh yeah.
You're doing things with your life. Like it gives you self-worth.
Yep.
I mean, don't sit around and think you're worthless. You're not. You can get up and like do stuff, especially stuff you love. Don't let
anybody
can
play bass in a punk band. It's so easy. I could do it.
And never let people tell you if you're not making money at it, you're worthless. That is the wrong fucking mentality.
Or you know, the popularity chase too, which I mean, I feel like now that's even more.
Totally.
And you know, something that I like had avoided social media like for forever, and then you know, like during COVID, realizing like, oh, I kind of need this, and it was actually like got Instagram so I could watch a couple of Instagram live shows. Justin Sane and Chris from Anti-Flag, of all people. But but you know, with using that, it's been a helpful tool to connect with people, and you know, seeing what people are about and being able to make connections. But you know, it's hard not to get caught up in that the popularity chase and the likes and trying to get validation from that. It's like that. Yeah. You know, to me is like the paper chase. Yeah.
I mean, especially with
like it doesn't have value.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
You the dopamine hits from clicks. That's it's nothing. It's insane. It's, you know, and these companies damn well know exactly what they're doing with that shit too.
Yeah.
But that's crazy. It's bad for mental health.
Yeah.
But you know, I think that's where that like punk ethos like come into play of like, all right, it doesn't matter if you're, you know, the most popular, if you're making the most money, if you're doing something that's meaningful and that people connect with, and you're having fun, then fuck it.
Totally.
Like,
Totally.
Who cares 100%. About the likes and the followers? Like,
right. Yeah.
Let's do it.
All right. So I'm going to ask you these 3 questions that we ask every guest.
Yes, I can prepare.
So, first question is: if you were on death row, what would your final meal be?
Final meal. All right. So I'm going to be nervous, probably on death row. Looking for some comfort food. So it's going to be a split dish. Half of it's going to be my Sicilian grandma, my nana, her homemade gnocchi and brajol. And then the other half will be, he got it. And then the other half will be my grandma from Kansas, her homemade biscuits and gravy, you know, with hard-boiled egg on top.
Nice.
Oh,
so that
sounds good.
That's what we're doing.
Does sound awesome.
Yeah. Grandma's home cooking. You can't.
Yeah, brajol. My grandma used to make brajol every New Year's. With this onion sauce that she would make. She would cook down a whole thing of onions.
Nice.
And and she would have the pasta. It was like a tube pasta, so it was like hollow. It was like spaghetti, but it was hollow on the inside. I forget what it's called. Brajol. Man, I haven't heard that word in so long.
Well, it's why I've been watching The Bear. You know, another good Jason show, and there was like a whole episode about like one of the characters making brajol, and that was like his signature dish. It's so good.
Matt, you got to look at brajol.
Oh, I know.
Okay.
I well know what it is. Because that was used as like a saying in things, which one of the most hilarious things that was ever in was there was one of the hockey video games. The when you did something good, one of the announcers was like, "Give that guy a pasta brajol." And I was always like, "What the fuck is that?" And my half Italian, half Polish friend was like, "Oh, it's this thing," and he explained it all to me. And I was like, "Oh, nice. I mean, that's weird that they say that in hockey. And he was like,
that is weird.
They don't say that in hockey. I don't know why EA Sports put that in.
Yeah, there's more Polacks than Italians playing hockey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Italians well represented in hockey, but
yeah, that's
more
true.
Eastern Europeans.
Yeah, it is weird. There are a lot of Italians in hockey.
Yeah, I think like the Northeast thing.
Yeah, that's true. Northern Italian. Yeah, the redhead Italians. From the
Yeah,
north.
Well, I mean, like Italian Americans, like
yeah.
the Northeast U.S.
Yeah.
Massachusetts, especially, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, New York.
That's right. Yeah,
and New York as well, of course.
Yeah. All right. Second question is, this is a thing that you could actually do now. So if you decide to get cremated, they could take your ashes and actually form it into a vinyl record of your choice. So if you were going to have your ashes eternalized in a record of your choice, it has to be an album that exists. Which one would you pick?
I would probably go with the Specials.
Nice.
Just because I would want my family popping on there, my remembrance, maybe on my birthday, special occasion. And I mean, you can't help but be in a good mood and dance when you hear that album. So
yeah, so good.
Keep it posy. Keep it fun and light.
That's actually so we've had other people say the Specials before, but
really, okay,
yeah, but your reasoning for it is the first we've had, is just where let's keep it positive for the family to listen to. I don't think anybody said use that as a
that is interesting,
as a bartering tool for why that's their record. That's cool.
Yeah,
like
keep it
it makes sense.
Yep,
keep it light. Yeah,
hell yeah.
Because I was like, oh well, I could find like some crazy grindcore one and just that'd be a funny joke to like.
Yeah, what's
listen to that?
The funniest, what was it? Jake Kiley from Strung Out. What did he?
Yeah, the soundtrack to Miami Vice from the 80s.
Nice.
It's like a completely instrumental record too.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah,
that was funny. All right, who would be on your Mount Rushmore of punk rock? And you get 5 people because you get a Crazy Horse. So 5 people.
Wow. Yeah. So I did my homework.
Awesome.
When I heard the podcast, I was like, oh, okay, this is what they ask people. Shit. Like, so this has been like, this thought experiment over the last 2 days. So buckle up, guys. We're gonna get into the weeks. So, all right. So I'll preface this with, the original design for Rushmore was like the heroes of the West, like a lot of unsung folks, like Native American heroes, like Red Cloud, Crazy Horse, folks like that. But then they said, all right, well, we want to make this like a broad appeal. We want to make this, kind of the forefathers. So this is, this isn't going to be like those pioneers, the rebels, like your Kathleen Hanna's or your Martin Crudo. This is going to be your broad appeal folks, and that were the I would say forefathers, capital P punk. So my George Washington would be probably Joey Ramone.
Nice.
Because think about like the one who was there from the beginning, that really took up the mantle. Like he was tall as well.
Yeah.
G-Dub and Joey Ramone, tall, like kind of modest guys. Good leaders. Just hardworking, got the shit done.
Nice.
Joey Ramone. My TJ, Thomas Jefferson, ideas guy, like prolific writer, very smart individual. Jello.
Okay.
So the Jello, I mean, just to me, like with sort of putting the politics of punk in there, like just in such eloquent ways. In just some of the outspokenness, about social issues.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like
Cool.
Jello fits the mold, so to speak.
Totally.
yeah.
Pun intended.
So the Lincoln, the sort of like austere, sort of taking this like strong moral stance. I'm feeling Ian MacKay.
Yeah.
Somebody that just really pushed like for certain sort of values and ethics with punk, and kind of kept it going, like a guy above moral reproach in a lot of ways. So
yeah.
Henry Rollins, HR, like pretty close seconds for those. My TR, Teddy Roosevelt. I'm thinking, Teddy Roosevelt stepping in at this time in America where, we weren't really quite on the map yet, and TR kind of this American exceptionalism, and just really putting us on a whole new level as a country. I say Fat Mike.
Nice.
Like the thinking about where punk was like in the 90s, like yeah, you're there, but you're not like quite doing it. And just everything that he's done, like in being sort of this maybe brash, outspoken guy, kind of like a Teddy Roosevelt too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking Billy Joe Armstrong, like somebody else that like sort of propelled punk into this whole new level. But yeah,
awesome.
maybe not the same sort of personality as that Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah. Billy Joe's not as outspoken, I would say, as Mike has been throughout their careers.
Yeah.
Mike pushes borders,
Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy Horse. I had a lot of like second places, but I think HR definitely deserves to be up there from Bad Brains. Just somebody who, in terms of sort of representation, in terms of just being this dynamic performer, in terms of like the whole like PMA thing that had this huge ripple effect for all the New York hardcore and all the DC hardcore for that matter. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Dude, that's a good true founding fathers, I think.
That is like, yeah. There's no wrong answer in this, but I think you got the right answer somehow. That was definitely one of the most thought out. I like how you kind of linked each one to.
I had a couple different drafts.
Yeah.
I had a good old time with this one in my brain.
Awesome.
So, yeah,
that's really fun. Yeah, that's right. That's a killer Mount Rushmore. Yeah.
Yeah, such a good question. Because I think there's so many different ways you can go with it. So
yeah, some people like to create a band with it. To pick like the best guitarist, singer. Yeah. But yeah, that was cool. Yeah, we never had anybody link it to like the actual people on the mountain before. So
it helped me rein it in. It helped.
Well, let people know where they could find out about everything you have going on, your social medias, and all of that good stuff. Like Speak Your Truth. Where can people find out about that?
Yeah. So Instagram, it's at Speak Your Truth Crew. That's probably the main hub where we put there's links there to the YouTube content that we have, to the website. Our SEO for our website kind of sucks, but if you search Speak Your Truth Annapolis, you can find it.
Cool.
That way. But yeah.
And the next one will be in. Is it always in July?
Typically, yeah. Okay, and cool. We're kind of making moves to turn it into a nonprofit and sort of help it get legs and really grow. So
awesome.
Hopefully, it's going to be more than just something in July.
Awesome, and I think we would love to be a part of that too. If just keep us posted.
Yeah, still playing in bands because I just Matt, I just put your band on my Bandcamp, like
the Ailments
wish list. So
yeah, so
what's your band?
The Ailments, ALEMENTS.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We lost our drummer years ago. The last show we played was 2019, and we can't. The drummers are so hard to find, and it's just
yeah.
But
I gotta get our second record back up on Spotify. It's not up there for some reason.
It's not up there?
No, I don't know. I don't know what happened during the disease, and it just got taken down all of a sudden. So,
but
considered our best record, I believe.
Definitely love to go to one of the shows you put on, or Matt, to see you guys play. So I'll be keeping an eye on.
Yeah, December 2nd, we're doing a show at the Pie Shop in DC.
Yeah, with the Jasons.
The Jasons are headlining. You know the Jasons. Yeah.
I you mentioned that, and I was like, one of my friends from Pennsylvania put me onto them, and the jingle they did for your guys' podcast is pretty sick. Yeah,
I miss touring with those guys.
Yeah.
A lot,
because your band, Matt, is like does like a horror punk type of thing.
Yeah,
we like like the band Calabrese.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah,
yeah.
Our idea when we started that band was like, you know what? Screw it. We've all been giant Misfits and Ramones fans for the longest time. Let's just
lean into it.
Let's just do our idea of mixing the two of those bands together and see what happens.
Yeah.
Cool. And it worked.
And and spooky season. So Ron, if you ever catching some flicks around Crofton, I have the VHS set up in my my little man corner.
Awesome.
So we watch Dusk Till Dawn, or
hell yeah.
Are you a horror movie fan?
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Big time.
So I just actually filmed my first like leading role in it's like a horror comedy. And we will be doing the plan is, I think, to do a premiere at the Pie Shop in DC.
Oh, cool.
Whenever that happens. But
nice.
But yeah, if you're into that.
What's it called?
Chum. It's like it's a stupid shark zombie movie, but
that's sounds like a great film. You just got to lean into the just the campiness of it. Yeah.
Some like low budget production company hired my buddy who's a director. It was the production company's idea, and we kind of turned it into our own thing. So it should be pretty good.
Yeah. No, I'll definitely keep an eye out for Chum.
Yeah, and I'll keep you posted too, Tyler. Like whatever we have going on, I'll shoot you messages, and we'll chat. I mean, I'll see you on dog walks.
Yeah, walking the dogs.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. But yeah, so December 2nd, that's the next thing we have going on with the Jasons. But yeah, dude, like I'll keep you posted, like I said, with anything else coming up. And thanks so much for doing this. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, and thanks for having me. This whether we recorded this or not, I knew it was going to be a blast. So
hell yeah. Awesome.
Thanks for helping me get the word out about mental health awareness, and thanks you guys for being advocates in your own ways too. So
we will.
The more people
continue.
that can just talk openly about it and stop the stigma, the better.
Awesome.
So,
hell yeah.
Yeah.
That
Cool,
was
man.
very nice to meet you, dude. And like Ron said, thanks a lot for coming on.
All right. Grazie mille.
All right, later.
All right, guys. Take care. Have a good night.
You too. Bye. Thanks for hanging out for another week. Be sure to check out punkboxrocks.com and merchslut.com. Check us out on all social media outlets at Our Brains Hurt and at ourbrainshurt.com. We will talk to you next week. Stay safe. Adios.
How do I do this shit? I can still hear you. So what do I have to press? Close.